Welcome to the 5th episode of Ahargana. I am back to the Kaveri river basin, but I gained some altitude. I came up about 200 feet from the camp down below. It took some doing getting here. I am drenched with sweat and out of breath. But it's good exercise early in the morning, and the view, as you can see here, is fantastic. That's the Kaveri flowing down below there behind me. And as usual, I can hear the birds chirping in the air and a little bit of wind blowing on my ears, and the sun is shining on my face. But as always, you know that I am not here to talk about nature, at least not nature on this scale, but nature on a much grander scale. So getting to the topic of today's video, we are going to talk about Tithi. What is a Tithi and how it plays a part in the Hindu calendar. So the definition of a Tithi is very simple. The definition of Tithi as per Surya Siddhanta is that it is the time, of course it's all time, right, it's all calendric elements. It's the time taken by the moon to move 12 degrees from the sun, keeping the sun as the basis. If this is the sun, then this is Amavasya and the moon moves 12 degrees, that time is one Tithi. Moon moves 24 degrees, that is the second Tithi, 36 degrees, that is the third Tithi, and so on and so on. But the question arises, why 12? What is this 12 degrees and where did this dozen come from? Why not stay with decimal and keep it as 10 degrees? Why 12? What is the point? So the Surya Siddhanta goes on to say that a Chandramasa is divided into 30 Tithis. So that gives you a clue as to why 12. Because if the sun is here and the moon is moving 12 degrees, 12 degrees, 12 degrees, if it moves 360 degrees, it comes back to the next Amavasya with respect to where the sun is. So you divide 360 into 30 parts. Each part will be 12 degrees because 360 divided by 30 equal to 12. This is a very basic equation in the Hindu calendar. It is like E equals mc squared of Albert Einstein in the space of atomic energy. So that tells you why it is 12 degrees and not 10 degrees. But then the question arises, why 30 Tithis? Why not again 10 or 15 or 20 or 25? Why specifically 30 Tithis? What is the point? This one the Surya Siddhanta does not explain. Yeah? But my guess, my speculation, you tell me if I am right, we have already seen that a Chandramasa is 29 and a half solar days. So maybe because of the 29 and a half, round it off to 30, that's why maybe this 30 has been chosen. Let's divide a Chandramasa into 30 segments, 30 Tithis, and each Tithi is the time taken by the moon to move 12 degrees. But are you entirely satisfied with this explanation? You should not be, because we have seen in the earlier episodes that let's say the sun is here, this is Amavasya, and the moon moves full one circle 360 degrees, but the sun is no longer here, the sun has moved further. So the moon has to move a little bit more for the next Amavasya to happen, right? So you could argue that the moon moves more than 360 degrees in one Chandramasa. It maybe moves 370 or 375 degrees, not 360 degrees. And you would be right, that argument is correct. But go back to the definition of Tithi. It's the time taken by the moon to move 12 degrees from the sun. But the sun is also moving. So whenever you measure the position of the moon, you have to measure it not with respect to the previous Amavasya, but with respect to where the sun is at that point in time. This is the subtlety in the definition of a Tithi, which many people will not realize. So you are measuring the movement of the moon with respect to the sun, which is also moving. Now, astronomically, this is not a very complex point. This is called as elongation. It's called this elongation of the moon from the sun. And as the sun keeps moving, you keep measuring 12 degrees, 24 degrees, 36 degrees based on an ever moving sun. So then you will realize if wherever the sun is, 180 degrees will be Purnima, and that is nothing but 15th Tithi end, and 360 degrees will bring you back to Amavasya, wherever the sun is, not from the previous Amavasya point, but from where the sun is at that point in time. Good. So now that you know that 12 degrees movement of the moon is a Tithi, and 30 Tithis make up a Chandramasa. So let us get on to the next point, which is, so what are these Tithis called? Do these Tithis have names? The answer is yes, they have names, and no, they do not have names. You are already familiar with the names of Pratama, Dvitiya, Tritiya. All the Hindu religious festivals have a Tithi name in them, like Ganesha Chaturthi, Vijayadashami, Ramanavami, etc., etc., etc. They all have a name, but my point is, those are not names really. That is actually counting the Tithis. For example, in English you would say first Tithi, second Tithi, third Tithi, fourth Tithi, fifth Tithi, etc. In Kannada I might say Modalne Tithi, Eradne Tithi, Moorne Tithi, Nalkne Tithi, Aidne Tithi. In Tamil I would say Mudalavadu Tithi, Irandavadu Tithi, Moonravadu Tithi, Nangavadu Tithi, Aindavadu Tithi, and so on. In Hindi you would say Pehla Tithi, Dusra Tithi, Tisra Tithi, Chauta Tithi, Panchva Tithi, and so on. In Sanskrit you say Pratama Tithi, Dvitiya Triti, Thitiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, Shashti, Saptami, Ashtami, Navami, Dashami, and after that you go into counts of 10, Ekadasha, Dvadasha, Trayodasha, Chaturdasha. So in Sanskrit, as per the grammar, it becomes Ekadashi, Dvadashi, Trayodashi, Chaturdashi. And then it should be Panchadashi for 15, but there we reuse a familiar old term, two familiar old terms, Amavasya Tithi or Purnima Tithi. Now we have already seen in the earlier episodes that Amavasya and Purnima are just moments in time. Everything is moving, sun is moving, moon is moving, so just a fraction, just a moment in time Amavasya is over, but the same term is now used to name an entire Tithi, Amavasya Tithi, and as usual Amavasya Tithi ends with Amavasya, and Purnima Tithi ends with that moment of Purnima. So the same term Amavasya and Purnima are now reused as names of Tithi, and they are truly names, they are not counts. Amavasya Tithi or Purnima Tithi. So if you are in Shukla Paksha, then after Chaturdashi Tithi, you will get to Purnima Tithi. And in Krishna Paksha after Chaturdashi Tithi, you will get to Amavasya Tithi. So I missed that point. So what that means is after Amavasya or Purnima, you restart the count at Pratama, Dvitiya, Tritiya, but now the Paksha has changed. So any Tithi can be uniquely identified by three things. Masa, Paksha and Tithi will help you to locate a specific date on a Hindu calendar. These are the three instruments you need to locate any specific date on a Hindu calendar. Now, the next point I want to convey is about the timing of the Tithi, the end of a Tithi and the beginning of the next Tithi. A Tithi can start and end at any point in time. It can be in the morning, it can be in the evening, it can be in the middle of the night also. So Amavasya can happen at 12 midnight, the next day at maybe 2 a.m. Pratama Tithi will, Dvitiya Tithi will start, the next day at 4 a.m. Tritiya Tithi will start, the next day at sunrise 6 a.m. Chaturthi Tithi will start. So Tithis can start at any time, it can start in noon as well as in midnight, because the movement of the moon around the earth is not at all correlated with the rotation of the earth. So it is not correlated with sunrise or sunset or moonrise or moonset in any fashion whatsoever. It is totally independent of the movement of the spinning of the spinning movement of the earth. Now, why am I pointing this out? Because in the Hindu tradition, the Tithi plays a very important part in the performing of all religious ceremonies. And the Surya Siddhanta says so. So, let me try and quote the Surya Siddhanta here. The shloka goes as follows: Tithi karanam udbhava shauram sarva kriyastata vratopavasa yatranam kriya chandrena grihyate. Now, what does this mean? This means that whatever kriya you may do, sarva kriya, be it udvaha, which is nothing but vivaha, wedding, or it could be shaura, which is shaving. Whatever kriya you do, sarva kriya, you look at the Tithi and Karana. So, what is Karana? Karana is nothing but half a Tithi. If Tithi is a 12-degree movement, Karana is a 6-degree movement. So, in addition to this, Vratopavasa Yatranam Kriya, if you are performing Vrata, Upavasa or Yatra, then Chandrena Grihyate, be guided by the sun. So, this is the tradition as it existed 1600 years back when Surya Siddhanta was written, and I believe this is the tradition even today in our Hindu communities, whatever be the communities. Even the communities which follow the Sauramana calendar will still look at the Tithi when it comes to performing kriyas. So, now correlate this with what I said just a moment earlier. So, let us say a Tithi starts at 3 a.m. Does it mean we have to wake up at 3 a.m., brush our teeth, shave, have a shower and do Sandhya Vandana? No, we do not do that, because our life is guided by the sun. Sunrise begins the day for us. We rise with the sun and then we start doing all the kriyas to start the day. So, the way we follow this tradition, what we have established is, we look at the position of the moon at sunrise. Let us say sunrise is at 6:15 a.m. So, at that time, where is the moon? And let us say the moon is at 20 degrees. Then we say it is Dvitiya Tithi, not just a sunrise. We say it is Dvitiya Tithi for the entire day until the next sunrise. Now, if at sunrise the moon is at 20 degrees, in a few more hours it will cross over to 24, 25 degrees. So, it goes to Tritiya Tithi during the day, but we ignore that and we say it is Dvitiya Tithi until the next sunrise. Next sunrise we again check where is the moon at this point in time. It might have crossed to 24, it might have gone to maybe 32 degrees or something. Then okay, then it is Tritiya Tithi today, and we keep going. So, we are essentially taking Tithi, which is a lunar concept, and applying it on top of a solar day. And this is the convention which is followed everywhere, and this convention leads to certain complications which I will get into in the next episode. Yeah, it brings in the concept of Adhika and Kshaya Tithis, but I will not talk about that here. I will talk about it in the next episode of this serial. So, I have given a lot of information today in this talk of the last maybe 10 minutes. Now, it is time to go into the animation and see this executed. So, what does this 12 degrees moon, 12 degrees movement of the moon mean, and what does it mean to be relative to the sun and not to the point of previous Amavasya? All this will become clear when you look at the Stellarium animation. So, I am going to roll the animation now. Take a look. Okay, let us get started. The topic of today's animation is the concept of Tithi in the Hindu calendar. Now, the definition of Tithi is very simple, but it is also very geometric in nature. The Tithi is defined as the time taken by the moon to move 12 degrees from the sun. What does that mean? Let us take a look. So, as usual, the animation is starting on 12th April 2021 at 3 minutes past 8 in the morning, and it is Amavasya. I have mentioned here Amavasya Tithi. What does that mean? I will explain a little bit later. But by definition on Amavasya moment, at the moment of Amavasya, the sun and the moon are at the same ecliptic longitude. So in this picture, this is a Western notation, 0 degrees, 30 degrees. So maybe they are both at 25 degrees, let's say, which means that the gap between them is 0 degrees. They are both in the same 25 degrees. There is no gap. And the technical term for this gap is elongation. Now I'm going to run the animation and take a look and see what happens. There you go. The moon is moving and stopped. And during this period, down here I had shown that this was Prathama Tithi. This period is known as Tithi. In this period, the moon moved from 0 degrees to 12 degrees. And this is the first Tithi. Prathama is first. So what is this 12 degrees? That means that angular distance between the sun and the moon. So you imagine a line here, and this angle is 12 degrees. That's what the geometric definition says. I cannot draw a line here and show you. Stellarium does not allow me to do that, but this is the angle, 12 degrees. And look at the time. On April 12th, 8:03, we started. Prathama Tithi started, or rather Amavasya Tithi ended. And on April 13th, 10:19 in the morning, Prathama Tithi ended, and the next Dvitiya Tithi is about to start. So let me continue. This is Dvitiya Tithi in progress. And there it's done. So this angle is 24 degrees. And Dvitiya Tithi happened at April 14th at 12:50. So in the afternoon. Now let me proceed once more. This is Tritiya Tithi in progress. The moon is moving up to 36 degrees. That means this distance from the sun to Chandra. So this angle is 36 degrees. Next, Chaturthi Tithi, 48 degrees. So this angle now going up to this point is 48 degrees. Continue. Panchami Tithi. So what are these? I mean, Panchami is nothing but fifth Tithi, just counting in Sanskrit. Now it has reached 60 degrees. So 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 5 times is 60 degrees. So when it reached 60 degrees, Panchami Tithi got over. Continuing, sixth Tithi, Shashti Tithi, is getting over at 72 degrees. Now you can see the angle is significantly higher. I will push it one more. Saptami Tithi is the seventh Tithi, going up to 84 degrees. And look at the time. Now it is on April 20th, midnight, 4 minutes past midnight. Saptami Tithi got over and Ashtami Tithi is going to start. So here a Tithi started, the Prathama Tithi, Amavasya got over at 8:03 and Prathama started in the morning. Whereas here Saptami Tithi got over at midnight and Ashtami is going to start. Ashtami is nothing but 8th Tithi, Ashtami Tithi. And there it ends. So this is 96 degrees and you can see that, from the sun, it's beginning to look like a right angle. Just 6 degrees more than a right angle. This is 90 degrees. 96 to be exact, but visually you can't make out. It looks pretty much like 90 degrees. Now, another point I would like to draw your attention to. According to the definition, I am proceeding. I am measuring the distance from the sun's position. But remember, the sun is also moving. The sun used to be here. This is where the previous Amavasya happened, the plus symbol. Sun and moon both were there. At the beginning of the animation, the sun has moved this much. And we always measure these degrees from the sun's position at this point in time. So on April 21st, 46 minutes past midnight, the sun is here. And with respect to that position of the sun, the moon has come to 96 degrees, not from the previous Amavasya. This is a subtle point, but it's an interesting point. Otherwise, this could confuse you. So now Ashtami, let me proceed. Navami Tithi is in progress, 96 to 108. Dashami Tithi is nothing but the 10th Tithi. Dasha is 10. Now Ekadashi Tithi, Ekadasha, 11th Tithi. Dwadashi Tithi is Dwadasha, 12th Tithi. Trayodashi Tithi is nothing but Trayodasha, 13th. And Chaturdashi is nothing but Chaturdasha. And now, what happens after this? The Tithi should be 15th Tithi. Yeah. So it should be called Panchadashi Tithi. But no, we don't do that. Instead, we reuse an old term, Purnima Tithi. And that ends at 180 degrees. Here is the sun, here is the moon, completely in opposition, 180 degrees. And that is Purnima. So instead of saying Panchadashi Tithi, we simply say Purnima Tithi in the case of Shukla Paksha. So far we have been in Shukla Paksha. So Purnima, name Purnima is now applied to the entire Tithi from April 26th, 12:46 in the afternoon to April 27th, 9:03 in the morning. That entire period is called Purnima Tithi. And it ends at the moment of Purnima, which we have already seen in earlier episodes. Now when I proceed with the animation, you will see that the count resets back to Prathama. So doesn't that create a confusion? There are two Prathama Tithis? Yes, but the Paksha is also going to change. Am I right? So Krishna Paksha Prathama Tithi, Krishna Paksha Dvitiya Tithi, and so on and so on and so on. And now the angles are all greater than 180. You are moving from 216 degrees to 228. You always measure the angles in the direction of motion. 240 to 252. Now it's the 6th Tithi is in progress. 7th Tithi is in progress. All in Krishna Paksha. 8th Tithi is in progress. 9th Tithi is in progress now. 10th Tithi is in progress. It reached 300 degrees now. And now 11th Tithi is in progress. It's going to reach 312 degrees. 12th Tithi is in progress. Dwadasha Tithi and Trayodashi Tithi. So here you see the moon is crossing where it used to be when we started this animation. And it is now catching up with the sun. And similar to Purnima Tithi, after 14 Tithis, the 15th one in this case is called Amavasya Tithi, not Panchadashi Tithi. Amavasya Tithi, because it is Krishna Paksha, and Amavasya Tithi ends with the moment of Amavasya when the moon has moved 360 degrees from the current position of the sun, not from the starting point. It has definitely moved more than 360 from the starting point. But where is the sun right now? It is here. And the moon has moved 360 degrees. And 360 equals 0 in circular geometry. Mathematics is a funny business. 360 equal to 0, and then the whole thing will start all over again from Chandramasa. You will switch to Vaishakha Masa, Shukla Paksha, and again 12 degrees, 24 degrees, 36 degrees. Prathama Tithi, Dvitiya Tithi, Tritiya Tithi of Shukla Paksha will continue. So this is the story about Tithi. And I have given all the dates and all the times, and you can see I already pointed out sometimes the Tithis change over in the daytime, sometimes at midnight, sometimes at, let me see, somewhere in 9 o'clock in the night. And even the durations of Tithis are not identical at all, not at all identical. The angle is 12 degrees, but the time taken to cover that angle varies considerably. It can be 18 hours, it can be 24 hours, it keeps changing because the moon's orbital velocity and orbital movements are fairly complex in nature. But what you need to be aware of that the Tithis can change. The cutover happens from one Tithi to another any time. Morning, afternoon, evening, midnight, noon, whatever. It just happens based on the movement of the moon. It has no correlation with sunrise or sunset. So you can take a look at all these dates and all these times. Yes, this animation looks fairly crowded, but that's because Tithi is a small period of time, and if you count how many are there, you will find there are 15 Tithis in Shukla Paksha and another 15 Tithis in Krishna Paksha, 30 Tithis in one Chandramasa. And that makes sense because 360 degrees divided by 12 equal to 30. It has to be 30 divisions. So that brings me to the end of this animation. I really thank you for your patience. This is a fairly complex topic, and you can always run this animation a second time or a third time if required to see what's really going on. I truly appreciate your patience and your interest in this topic, and thank you very much for watching. Now you understand Tithi in pretty much great detail. So you understand the geometric definition, the 12 degrees, the 30 days, the 360 divided by 30 equals 12. You got everything. You also understood how Tithis are named, that is not name but just counting first, second, third Tithi, etc., but in Sanskrit. So you have pretty much covered Chandramana at this point in time. We also looked at how we take the idea of a Tithi and layer it on top of the solar day by looking at where the moon is at the point of sunrise. But that point, layering Tithi on top of a solar day, leads to some additional complications. They result in what are called as Adhika Tithi and Kshaya Tithi. And these Adhika and Kshaya Tithis cause a lot of confusion to people. And in fact, in my opinion also, this concept actually makes the Hindu calendar a little bit difficult to use. For example, arithmetic on dates cannot be done. You can't add a starting date plus 10 days and predict what Tithi will come after that, because there may be an Adhika or Kshaya Tithi in between. But what is Adhika Tithi and Kshaya Tithi? Kshaya Tithi. This is going to be the topic of the next episode. And once we cover Adhika and Kshaya Tithi, I am also hoping that in the next episode I will be able to talk a little bit more about Hindu festivals, because now that you have Masa, Paksha and Tithi, you pretty much have everything in your hands needed to locate a specific date on the Chandramana calendar. And once you can pick a specific date, then you can say this date is Ramanavami or this date is Vijayadashami, etc. So we will go into a little bit of talking through the Hindu festivals, and the Amanta and Purnimanta traditions make a difference there when we talk about the Hindu festivals on the Hindu calendar. And I am also hoping in the next episode I will be able to take you away from these animations into a Panchanga. And the one I usually follow is the drikpanchang.com. I have tremendous admiration for the people who have put together Drikpanchang. So I will try and illustrate the Hindu festivals using the Drikpanchang. It will give you a little bit of feel on how to start reading a Panchang, now that you know this concept of Tithi also. And once we do that, we would be completing Chandramana, and we can move on to Sauramana after that. So that brings me to the end of this episode, and thank you very much for being patient. Thank you very much for following this episode, these episodes of Ahargana for all these weeks. I know I am not very regular in producing this video. I apologize for that, but I am doing my best to take the ideas which are in my hand and project them in such a way that they become easy to understand for you. And I don't want to compromise on those ideas on how I do this by trying to stick to a schedule and get things out on specific deadlines. I have lived my entire life based on deadlines. I don't want to do that anymore. So please give me a little bit of flexibility, and if you like what you are seeing in this serial, in these episodes, please share the link for these videos with your friends and family. But also one request from my side, please talk about this topic within your family circles, because now you understand quite a lot on Chandramana. So bring this up in conversations so that people start realizing about this topic. It's not necessary that I am the only person who makes videos and everybody should see them. Whatever you understand through these videos, if you are able to in turn communicate it to others, that would be fantastic, because that creates a network effect, and that's the only way this topic can really spread in a broad-based manner across a large number of people. So once again, thank you very much for watching this episode and all these episodes so far. And if there is anything you would like me to do differently, please do let me know. I can make course corrections. There still are quite a few episodes to go. There is Sauramana, which has its own set of very interesting topics which come up. So until the next episode, thank you very much for watching. Take care and bye-bye.